Hi boys and girls. I'm so happy that you have joined me again today over here at Mrs. Knapp's Readings Corner. Today we are going to be reviewing a strategy that you have been working on all year long with your teachers. We are going to be looking at distinguishing our own point of view, we are the reader, from that of the author, the writer of the text. You are going to be working with this strategy this week with your text that has been selected for you from Social Studies Weekly. You will be reading about the Native Americans and their contributions to America. We're going to be looking at the perspective of the author or the person that wrote the text. We're going to be reviewing a strategy today using a book that I have pulled from my own library to help remind you what we can do as readers while we're accessing the text. So today, boys and girls, as we review, I want you to think about a microscope. And you're probably saying to yourself, Mrs. Knapp, what does a microscope have to do with reading? Well, a microscope, boys and girls, is a very awesome tool. It's a tool that allows us to look very closely at a bigger piece of an item, and we can really get into the fine details. We have this little knob here that can move it up and down, and we can look closer. We can zoom out and see a broader perspective of that item that we put under here under the glass. So when you're reading, boys and girls, that's just what we're doing when we're thinking of the author's perspective. We want to look at it closely. We want to zoom in and we want to look at all the details that can help us as readers understand the text that has been put in front of us. And in order to do that, we want to practice these steps that I have listed here for you. So I brought a little book that I have for my own bookshelf, and it's called The Sun is Kind of a Big Deal. And here in Florida, the sun is kind of a big deal. So this book is a nonfiction text. And what we want to do when we're reading, boys and girls, this week, is we want to make sure that what's the perspective? These are some things that we can do to find out the author's perspective. So when we are looking at our text this week, we want to make sure we read the title and identify the topic. So when I see this title, The Sun is Kind of a Big Deal, I can see right away that the topic is going to be about the sun. So therefore, as a reader, I already have an idea of what the author's perspective is going to be about, the sun. I'm going to read the first paragraph and the last paragraph. Now, sometimes in text, we may not have paragraphs, so we may need to read the first couple pages to kind of get an idea. So as you can see, right here, the first paragraph, it says, all of the planets and the sun live together in the solar system like a big family. Oh, and down here at the last little paragraph, I see, seriously, the sun is an actual star. It's the only star in our solar system, and it sits right in the center, holding everything together. So, taking what I've already done, the perspective of the topic and the title, as well as reading the first paragraph and the last paragraph on the first page, I can already tell, I think this author is going to be talking about the sun and its important role that it plays in the solar system. My next step when I'm working and trying to decide the author's perspective, I want to think, what is the author trying to say? So what I have so far, I think the author is trying to tell me, based off the title and the first paragraph and the last paragraph of the first page, that the sun plays a very important role for us here in Florida and in the solar system. So from this point of view or the perspective, I think the author thinks that the sun is very important to us. I also want to read, collect, and connect. And you'll notice there are 3 circles. So when we read, when we collect, we connect them. So as we're reading our text this week, boys and girls, we want to make sure we read a little bit, we stop, we collect the information, and we connect those pieces together. Because using all of these steps will help us understand what the author is trying to tell us about the sun. Okay, now for you boys and girls, you will be reading your social studies weekly. And again, it'll be about the Native Americans and their contribution to those here in America and what they provided for us. So you want to make sure you review these steps as you are going through the text. Think about the microscope and how these steps can help you get closer and closer, fine details about what the author's point of view is, or from his perspective, because remember, this helps give us a different insight into the author's thoughts. Also, boys and girls, as you are going along and reading and answering your questions that are put forth, you want to remember that we have our very own strategy that we are going to practice. And hopefully you've seen this or you've practiced this in your own classroom. But if not, we're going to review it now, and we're going to relax. We are going to remember, boys and girls, that the R stands for read the question carefully and then reread the passage. The E, boys and girls, remember that it is evaluate every answer before you choose your right one. So as you're going through, you don't want to go, I know that one. I don't even need to look back in the text. You take it, you evaluate every answer, you go back to the text, reread the passage before you select your answer. Remember, the L is to look for proof in the passage. How many times have you heard your teacher say, go back in the passage and underline? So boys and girls, when you're at home, make sure you go back and you underline, or you go back on the computer and you highlight where you found that. Because guess what? Like I tell all my boys and girls, reading is so awesome because the words on the page tell you what the answers are. You just have to go back and find them. How awesome is that? The A, always check your work. Always go back and check your work and make sure that you have the best answer possible. The X, remember, is to X out answers you know are wrong. You know how they like to try and trick you, smart readers, and they like to put in distractors for you. So you want to make sure you go through and X out the answers that you know have nothing to do with the question or the text themselves. So, boys and girls, this week as you're reading, remember that you're going to be looking at things from the author's perspective, and we're going to be looking at those to see what he told us about the Native Americans and their contribution. You also want to make sure you continue practicing your relax strategy and make sure that you take your time with your questions and use that text to help you. I know you boys and girls are going to do great this week, and I look forward to seeing you again over here at the Reading Corner very soon. Make sure to take some time out and read today. I'll see you soon.